When I say bananas, you say peppers. And today we are in the battle of the popcorn pens. You guys, after the last Does This Thing Really Work? Although we might have done another one on this channel since then, but I'm sure you guys remember recently we tested out these crazy popcorn pins and they didn't really work for me. I just read a lot of the comments from you guys saying that you have seen them work, saying maybe that I should have used a heat gun versus a hair dryer, and there were just like so many tips and I really wanted to get them to work because they look so amazing. I feel like it's very rare that I retest a product, especially so soon after just testing it, but you guys really seem to enjoy that video and I really want to get the product to work. So we are going to be doing a retest today of those last pins we used, but today I do in fact have an actual crafting heat gun and not just a hair dryer. But then I do remember either seeing or having another brand of these popcorn pens in the past, and so that is what I also did on Amazon. I went and I got a different set where all of the instructions and information is in English. This is by a brand called Uli, and these are called Magic Puffy pens, but if you look at the back of the packaging, it looks like it is basically meant to deliver the same kind of results. Now, the interesting thing is these pins right here directly on the packaging say that you are supposed to apply high heat directly over the artwork using a hair dryer. So these specifically say that you can use a hair dryer. These, we do not know what they say, you guys. Like I said in the last video, all of the instructions are in Korean, and I know a lot of people always tell me like, why didn't you use Google Translate? There's an app for that. You can just shoot it directly at the packaging. You guys, what Google Translate are those people who recommend Google Translate to me using? I don't know how I could be using Google Translate wrong. It seems pretty self-explanatory. Like you can either choose the language that you know, like for instance, if you know something is written in French, you can select French, or if you don't know what language the item is in that you're looking at, there is a detect a language feature. Now, I tried to do this on a product for the first time in a, I don't know if I called it a Does This Thing Really Work or whatever, but last year I did like an in-depth investigator look at that weird like whitening toothpaste that was going viral on Instagram and everything. All of the packaging was in Chinese, so I used Google Translate. I got hysterical, nonsensical answers for that product, and you guys, I had the same experience with this. I thought maybe since there looked like there was not that many words on it that it would be able to translate, but I'm sure you guys are seeing this clip right now. It's literally a bunch of absolute nonsense to me. I mean, I just got things, you know, ranging from hilarious to sort of disturbing. What does that say? It is used very little. I'm coming. Changes. That sounds ominous. If you're a Nirvana, pour corn Kotor. What does this say? It is suitable when it is applied to the product. Even after drying, heat will cause swelling. If you don't pour it, it turns into a pistol color. Like I said, today I do actually have a heat tool, and I looked at the box. It actually says that this item cranks all the way up to 450 degrees Fahrenheit, because I was just thinking to myself, even after I filmed the video, like what is really that different between a heat gun and a hair dryer? Especially hair dryers of today, I feel like they get very hot. They have multiple heat settings, and most hair tools that I use, like curling irons and flat irons and all of that, definitely do heat up to 450 degrees. So I just assumed that hair dryers got that hot as well, but maybe they don't. I've actually had this hot tool for a while. This actually came to me from my aunt, and I guess that's why I didn't bust it out for the last video, is she passed away just a little bit over a year ago. I would like to think she's like a part of today's video, and I don't know, it's silly to not use it, right? And I'd also like to note, hopefully this item is gonna work because it still does have the original Michaels sticker on it. At first I thought it was gonna be a Crafts Etc. sticker. Do you guys remember Crafts Etc.? She quite apparently bought this in May of 1995. So we've got a little bit of everything here today, you guys. We've got 90s crafting. We've got Google Translate. It has literally been probably since 1995 since I've seen one of these embossing tools work. I used to do the whole like embossed stamping thing with my aunt and my mom in, you know, like the mid 90s, early 90s, but I haven't done it since then. So fingers crossed, let's see. Sounds promising and feels immediately very hot. And I will confess, it does feel much hotter than any hairdryer I've ever felt in my life. So now here comes the next little bit of crossroads that I'm a little bit conflicted with, since we don't really have any kinds of comprehensible instructions to go with these things. I don't know if I should try and use the embossing tool on them while the ink is wet or dry, because spoiler alert, I did already look at the instructions for the new pins, and they do say to wait until the ink is dry and then use a hairdryer. Here we go. Let's see if I can get some puff action from the eye in the sky here. I'm just gonna try it when it's wet. So not only did I test this ink out just like writing my name, but I also, oh my God, this smells like my aunt's perfume. It's so crazy. Oh my God. Okay, I'm talking so much, you guys. This is definitely working. This is so magical. And yeah, this heat gun gets so much hotter than a hairdryer. I don't know what gibberish I left off with. I'm not sure what the last thing I was just saying, but I had to actually pause because I was just so surprised and shocked by what I was seeing. These things are now awesome. I still don't know how practical it is for my original purpose, which was to write a letter with it, because man, when this stuff puffs up, it really puffs up. Now, last time it did seem like some of the pins were working a little bit better and some of them were not as great, and I still think that holds true. Although it's so weird because I felt like last time, like the black one and the purple one were two of the better performing colors, and now they're like kind of two of the lesser performing colors. Like last time, let's just say I was more impressed with all of the darker shades and less impressed with the neons and pastels, but this time it was the neons and pastels that really puffed up. Like I thought that this neon pink one last time was kind of a dud, as well as this neon blue, but this time, like the neon blue honestly looks like one of the colors that puffed up the most. I think we're going to just temporarily move on to the other pins, and then I'll probably just come back and, I don't know, do like a big test of everything together. Definitely a huge difference between using this and using a hairdryer. Now this tool apparently cost $25 in 1995. I don't know what they cost today. For my next test page, I'm gonna use these new pans. Oh my God, you guys, I'm gonna use these new pins. I'm gonna use the new pins, and I'm gonna like divide the page in half, and then we're gonna test these with a hairdryer and a hot tool. So the other thing I would like to say is obviously this is a set of 6 pins, but they're only a couple dollars cheaper. So I think the other set I've been showing you guys cost like $10.91, but you do get 10 colors, and these cost I think like $8.90 something cents, but you only get 6 colors. So these pins are quite similar to the last ones. They still have like a squishy paint kind of barrel, and each pin does have that little tip on the top, I'm presuming to keep the ink nice and fresh. So I'm just gonna get another sheet of hair paper. That is almost what I said out loud. And then I caught myself, but then I still said it out loud. Confusion. All right, I'm gonna see you guys in just a minute. Okay, now I'm just doing that accent and I can't stop. Help. I have this test page ready to go. I'm gonna set it off to the side so that it dries really good. We're just gonna follow the instructions. They say wait for the ink to dry. I tried to do some of the thicker ink shapes, let's call them, that are more saturated and filled with ink. I wanted to see if they do get as puffy as the heart with the last pin. I feel like it's gonna take quite a bit, like, waiting for those bits to naturally dry. Overall, talking about the writing experience, the difference between these pens and these pens. Yes, the newer ones definitely are a lot easier to write and draw with. Hopefully it's focused enough for me to show you guys this, but when I opened the purple one, I think at first, I was talking to you guys for a couple seconds after I ripped off that little like waxy protective tip on the top, and the ink already started like spilling out, and I hadn't like squeezed it or applied any pressure. As a matter of fact, I think I was holding the pen like upright and ink was just coming out of the pen already, which was kind of shocking and a relief to me. I feel like these are easier to write with and draw with because you're not really having to concentrate on like squeezing the life out of the pens like you do with these guys. These things you have to apply a lot of pressure, and the ink doesn't look any differently coming out of the pens. I know that these are quite a bit older than these. I just ordered these fresh. Then again, who knows how long they've been sitting in a factory or a warehouse. They might be the exact same age. I would never know. As a matter of fact, let me look on the packaging. These are dated 2015. So even though I bought them fresh, they might be just as old as these, which let's look at the package date just for shits and giggles. I don't see a date on these. Who knows? Anyway, it definitely makes for a smoother writing and drawing experience. I do think maybe you spill a little bit more ink, but I would rather more ink to rush out of the pens than like actually having to squeeze. Also, these skip less when you're writing and drawing. So right now, kind of the only apparent bummer for me, at least, is the lack of color choice. I really feel like you get a lot of the lighter neon colors here. So these pens would almost probably look a lot better on black paper. Why didn't I buy black paper for this? I don't know. My brain can only process one thought at a time, I suppose. So I was like, get more pens. Hey, get more pens and a heat gun. What I'm gonna do is just create a few more test pages because I'm just kind of curious what different results we would get with these pens using them in a multitude of different ways. Probably nobody else in the world cares about these as much as I do. Also, when I was re-looking up these pens and different brands of these pens, I also found something called pudding pens, and I really want to know what those are. I haven't been able to find them for sale anywhere, so if you guys know where I can buy some pudding pens, let me know. Oh my gosh. Okay, I literally have been engrossed with these pens now for probably at least an hour and 45 minutes. Sometimes I do just get tunnel vision about some things and I'm like, hey, I want to test it like this. I want to test it like that. But what if we do this? So I think I just conducted a pretty thorough test of both of these types of little popcorn pens. Getting back to these new popcorn pens, I don't think that you should follow the instructions on the package either way that they're written. I don't think that you should wait for the ink to dry. I tested that over and over again and it just really didn't puff up at all. I'm sure I'm inserting some clips here so that you guys can see. First of all, like the thicker deposits of ink, if you're drawing shapes and filling them in, that is literally, I don't know how long you would have to wait for them to dry. Like I said, I've been, you know, filming and drawing with these items for probably an hour and 40 minutes. And I started off basically, you know, drawing on this page, drawing the thicker shapes, and I waited till the very end to test, to let it dry all the way and test it with a hairdryer, and most of the ink still just was not that dry. I don't know who has that amount of patience. I mean, maybe if you drew something and then let it sit overnight and then came to it the next day, maybe the ink would dry naturally and then you could apply the heat to it. But I just don't think you get that impressive of results. I tried to write really thin over here where I wrote the word test over and over again, just to make sure that the ink would dry completely down. I ran my finger across it to make sure that, you know, no ink was lifting, and it still just really didn't puff up at all. It almost looked like the results that we got in last week's video where it raised the ink slightly. You felt a little bit of texture, but you didn't really get like that popcorn explosion that now we've seen. So after I let this dry for a really long time and it didn't seem to be working with the hairdryer, I went back in with the heat tool, and now I'm sure you guys can see we did get that really impressive popcorn texture, including this super amazing, oh my god, you guys, Doesn't that look like a witch's cauldron? Like, look at how crazy. I don't know why it only seems like the green one will do that, but I ended up doing that over and over again. And I just love how it looks every single time. It just looks almost like a warty frog or something. I don't know. Love it. Either way, I don't think you should use a hairdryer. I always think that you should use a heat tool. And I went ahead and looked on Amazon, and it looks like you can get some of these like embossing heat guns for as low as like $12.99. Other reason I would not use a hairdryer is just like, I know people were kind of like joking with me last time about like, why would I be scared to hold a hairdryer so close to a piece of paper? It's not like I think that the paper is necessarily gonna like burst into flames, but it is a real good way to burn up your hairdryer super quick. If there's anybody I feel like that knows a lot about hairdryers, it is moi. And even using this hairdryer so close to the paper today to try and get it to work, I started to smell a burning smell, and it's almost like the hairdryer started to make these like weird kind of sounds. It's not like I'm using a super cheap hairdryer either. No, people think I sleep with a hairdryer on. I don't. I like to have it near me. I do like to have the hairdryer on. It's like a comfort thing for me, but I'm not like putting it directly on my skin, and I'm not sleeping with it on. And bringing me back to the burning of the paper, I don't know if that is what's going on. I tried to get some really up close footage for you guys. These newer pins puff up a lot more, but it's almost like if you could get something hotter than a hairdryer but a little bit cooler than this thing. I don't know. The world was not designed for popcorn pins. Because, and you guys just let me know if you think I'm going crazy. If you're still watching this, is anybody out there still watching this? Why am I so in depth with these popcorn pins? But there are a couple of places where it looked like the ink does appear to be singed. It's like slightly discolored. It almost does look like it's a little bit burnt. And then there were almost some places with this kind of like neon purple pin in particular where it looked like maybe the ink just started to expand too quickly, and it's almost like the ink exploded. So that's kind of crazy too. I'm sure you guys can see I wrote like ink wet, heat tool, ink dry, blah, blah, blah. So I pretty much tested it every way that you could do it. Yeah, see, this was an entire page that I did with wet ink and the hair dryer. And I'm sure you guys can see, once again, it has like a slightly raised texture to it. But the good news is I feel like you can always go back in at any state of this ink, whether it's wet or dry, if you have a hot tool, and you can zap it and it'll puff up. So there is my 2 cents. Also, once again, I don't know if this is like perfect for letter writing and stuff, because the pages, they do stick together. You can pull them apart, but this one is like definitely certainly completely dry, and it still like left some weird residue on the back. But yeah, I don't know. I really do love it now that it is like super popcorn texture. I think it is really neat. Once again, even now that it's like super puffed up, I'll say the texture feels like if you spray silly string and like it gets dry. Do you guys know? I don't know. We usually do silly string on New Year's Eve, and if you like leave it laying somewhere and it dries and you pick it up, it like has kind of a weird like spongy texture to it, and that is what this stuff is like. So definitely very happy with both of the results using the heat gun. I just think that these write a little bit better, but also I think you're gonna go through the ink so much quicker. Like if you guys can see on this orange and yellow one, it's easy to see how much ink I've gone through today just doing the little bits of doodling that I've done. Like the ink here is really thin, which is probably why you get like better writing results with it. But oh yeah, I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to tell on the purple pen, but the ink has settled. No, I keep confusing the camera. Well, let me see if I can turn it this way. I feel like oh my gosh, look, I've used the purple the most today, and it's down that much ink already. Yeah, it still looks like we have quite a bit of ink in the old pens. So yeah, I don't know, pros and cons about each set, but overall, I think you get better results with the heat gun and the newer, cheaper pens. So this video was way too in-depth, but I'm gonna go edit it now. Oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you guys so much for hanging out today and for watching. If you're not already and you'd like to be, hit the button down below, subscribe, become a member of the Banana Peppers squad today, and leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you kind of liked me testing out like these artsy craftsy supplies, and maybe I'll do another video like this on this channel in the future. Anyway, until I see you guys again, stay happy, stay healthy, stay sassy, stay banana peppery. I love you guys so much, and I will see y'all again very soon.